In a way, interior design is a business, and what is our asset? The asset are people.
So hello and welcome to the BS Interior Design Virtual Gallery. I am Janine Marifel Ganpain, and with me is...
I am Japhet, Gablines, and we are fourth year BS Interior Design students from the University of San Carlos. So here with us is interior designer and accountant, Sir Frenjick Quesada, for the interior design firm DesignHQ, to talk about the business tips and strategies in the interior design business.
Hello, Sir Frenjick, welcome. If you don't mind, would you like to share a short background about yourself for our online viewers?
Okay, well, maayong hapon, tama ba yun?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
correct.
To the students of USC, my name is Frenjick Quesada. I'm a design principal at DesignHQ, Hirayama Quesada. I have a Japanese co-design principal. We've been in business for around 20 years now. And we work with 30 talented designers in our firm, and it's growing. We've had the pleasure to work with different designers from different parts of the country, including USC. We're currently working now with one designer and two architects from USC. And of course, we've had Ryan, our talented intern with us. So a little something about myself. Ryan mentioned that I'm an accountant. I graduated from the UP College of Business in an accounting major. Lucky enough to top 2 in the board exams there. Then I did P&G, Procter & Gamble, SGV Finance for around 6 years. And then I studied interior design because I wanted to do something more creative. A lot of my friends were asking me why, because most of us were like doing after business school and studying and then working. We'd go take an MBA. Well, the reason is, just like you, I knew there was something creative in me, and I decided to pursue interior design by studying again. And we put up our own firm, and here we are. A lot of people say, sayang, accountant ka, or what a waste. But in reality, I think that's one of our secret sauces. I think that my training in school as well as work in the business side has greatly sharpened our organization to be in tune with our clients. So that's a little something about myself.
Wow, thank you so much, sir, for sharing that humble journey of yours. So it was actually very inspiring knowing that you came from a business background to a more creative career such as interior design. So with this journey of yours, it led you to open also your own interior design business, which is now DesignHQ. So my question is, how did your interior design firm start, and how did it grow as a business for years?
Okay. Well, I took up interior design and I was nearing my 30s already. So flashback, right? And I was sitting in my freehand class, and a Japanese classmate came a week late because she came from vacation in Japan. She was sharpening her. And our terror teacher was like, bring out your pencils and show me you can sharpen properly. And that was the pencil that you have to use sandpaper to sharpen, if you guys still have that. And because of that, I became friends with Chapo, my design partner. Both of us we had a lot in common, and we were together in group work and all that. And since it was our second degree, we were quite focused right after graduating, because we were advanced in age, and we had both had corporate experience. We decided to strike out on our own and start our own design firm. At the start, like most young designers, new grad designers, we relied on the referral. So we had some residential. We had our first nursery school that we designed through friends. And then we worked very hard. It was just the two of us. And through hard work, we were able to get some referrals. And that was the time when the internet was just starting. So the internet was just starting. So it was like, and I told my design partner, let's create a website. Let's showcase our work. Let's document it well. So we took the most professional. We hired a professional photographer to take pictures of our work, and we put it there. So with the referrals, and then there was interest in the internet. During then, usually if you wanted an interior designer, you'd ask friends, do you have a friend who's an interior designer? The internet, in a way, democratized that. You could easily Google or search and find an interior design firm or designer who's good for you. So I think those two things started and kicked us off. And of course, underlying with that was we really worked hard. Aside from working hard, we really put effort into pleasing our clients as well as documenting our work. Why? So that we could put the portfolio online. And when you put it online, people can see the work that you've done, and that helps the business because they see and we got. So at the start, it was all referrals, and as the internet started gaining traction, more and more business came in. So as that happened, we started doing some restaurants, and then a big thing was retail. We did a lot of stores. I think we've done more than 100 retail stores in the malls for local brands who were rebranding themselves to keep up with the foreign brands coming in. So we did more than 30 stores for Folded and Hung. We Wade Shoes, local grown brands that wanted to have that global aesthetic. And in that retail experience, which we focused on for around 5 years, a lot of our portfolio was doing that. Aside from residential restaurants, we learned the discipline of commercial design, that you have to do things fast, you have to listen to the client very well, and because of that, we got more and more retail. But then a breakthrough was doing a hotel, and then we also were able to do a model unit, and that was fun because hotels, as you experienced, I guess, in your classes, there's more creative expression in there, and model units are just so fun to do. So once we did that, we documented, and that broke us into the developer market and the hospitality. So it was a layer by layer, but a lot of it was based on hard work, and a lot of it was one opportunity leading to another. So right now, we just started off by 2. We started hiring interns, and then we started hiring full-time. And now we're looking forward to having a face-to-face 30 people summer outing soon. So looking back, yeah, it's a classroom of designers. So it's really looking back, starting with Chaco and I, and now there are 30 of us. And of course, it's different. When we started, we were the young, edgy ones. Now, hindi na. We're working with young designers who have fresh ideas, and we're the ones who know the classics more, who has more experience, who a lot is training. So that's how we grew. So that was 20 years ago, and it's been a fun ride and fulfilling.
Wow, so you took everything slowly, sir, and step by step with everything for you to build DesignHQ. So in the pandemic, a lot has changed, and it has hit us very, very hard. So we are actually curious, how did the business respond to the immediate changes, such as the lockdowns and face-to-face restrictions?
Yeah, well, Uh, I guess everybody experienced the trauma of the pandemic, right? Everybody was basically prisoners in their houses and had to work from home. We at DesignHQ were actually quite prepared for that. Why? Because even before the pandemic, we believed that design work doesn't just happen at the office, at your desk, but a lot of it happens when you source or when you visit the client or when you inspect the site. So our work ethic then, our work arrangement then was, in a 5-day work week, you would have 2 days, in effect, parang working from home or working outside the office. We didn't call it work from home, we called it work outside the office because we knew that to be a good designer, you shouldn't just be stuck at your desk. You should be visiting suppliers, choosing fabric, talking to the client, inspecting the contractor's work. So we allotted for days that you don't have to report to the office. And this is scheduled for field work, or if you don't have field work, you will work from home. So during that time, there wasn't any Zoom, pero we'd email each other files. And then if for example, if Ryan was working with me on a project, I'd call him up and I'd say, check my email, let's discuss your submission. We'd go through the pages while talking on the phone while looking at them. Sounds familiar, di ba? So it's an analog version of Zoom. So during the pandemic, adjustment to work from home was the first thing. And we're happy to say that in our case, it wasn't that hard because we were used to it. Instead of 2 days a week, now it became 5 days a week, and no site visits because you're not allowed outside your house. Aside from that, of course, because of the pandemic, our clients either stopped their work or canceled their work. Certain clients, a certain portion, and we also saw that inquiries for new work became much lower because it was a very precarious times and they didn't know how it was going to go. So stop muna lahat. So all the businesses, of course, went bad, but I think that the businessman within me kicked in, and of course, the first thing to do was to watch expenses, make sure that we wouldn't be overspending, etc. And of course, we also talked about protocols like. Within the pandemic, there was a strict lockdown, and then there was a part that you could start going to site visits. We had protocols to ensure safety. So, of course, we had regular antigen tests, regular monitoring, contact tracing within our organization when the lockdown allowed us to go out to do required field work. We also had to manage the client's expectations. And in the whole part, they understood. We were all in the same boat. But also, I think the change also that we noticed is that while we're used to working from home for a prolonged time really affects a designer. I mean, personally, diba? Getting stuck in your house with no socialization, we all realized how difficult it was. So we also recognized that we had to understand the challenge in mental health, because while the obvious would be that your business would be slower and going out would be scarier and you had to be careful, we realized also that our biggest asset, which is our designers, are also affected negatively by this lockdown. So now we're kind of like alert level 1, so it's kind of back to normal. But during those things, those were the changes that we had to face.
that was really informative. Like even you were like foreseeing already the possibilities of having like the pandemic. So I was really amazed of how the situation started first. Like you already adapted like online and work experience outside the office, which is actually very a good experience for young designers as well.
What are the recent interior design trends, technology, or strategies you've observed in the interior design industry?
Well, first the technology. Let's tackle first technology. So everybody's used to Zoom, video chats and all that socially. And of course, this was adopted to work, and it's basically a new way to meet with people, and we had to master the medium. Master the medium meaning what? When you present to a client using Zoom, of course, there is a more we had to learn the most effective way of presenting. How to present ourselves as designers, how to present our designs, how to communicate very well, even Zoom etiquette, no? So for example, our etiquette was in Zoom that when we come into a meeting, let's say we're having a meeting with Ayala Land or Alveo or Robinson's Land or Discovery Hotels, our standard was we had a background like this, you'd still dress up, no? And then we'd also open our camera at the start, and proper etiquette would be greeting them, attentive listening, and asking permission to record. No? So that's the technology side. We had to master because, of course, it's different when you're presenting in an actual face-to-face. You can see their reactions. But you're presenting a design, you could see if they like it because they're smiling or they're nodding their head. Or conversely, you can tell the person who doesn't like the design kasi the forehead is a little wrinkled, or if something's controversial, they'd be whispering to each other. How do you read the room when it's all on video and I just see you as a thumbnail? Or worse yet, your video is off and your name is there. Diba? So parang we had to do that, and we also learned how to make our presentations more focused, added more slides, zooming in to details, etc. No? Now, other trends that we also saw in the pandemic was that, of course, the immediate effects of the pandemic. Like, how do we design for a pandemic-ready interior? Now, this we learned by ourselves and through our clients. So, for example, since business was slowing down, you have less new projects coming in, some projects being held, some projects being even canceled, pero konti lang naman yun. We're lucky in our portfolio. You have more time. So what you do with the time? We decided to invest in training. So that would mean researching, attending a lot of webinars about the pandemic. So understanding what it is in terms of design, like, all the things that we know now, like sanitizing station, proper circulation of people, the proper spacing, the new design details like for ventilation and for securing a person behind the counter. We researched we even did some in-house things on that. We had a series called D3, so Design Dialogues. We started that, and we talked about the effect of pandemics on restaurants, in public spaces, and in homes. And we also attended webinars outside. So we learned all these techniques there. So for example, in residential, the mud room was very important, or like a sanitation. Now, when you enter from the outside, you have to have a place where you could sanitize yourself as well as to put all your clothes and all that before going into the house. And of course, everybody was working from home or studying from home. So therefore, in our designs, in the model units, we reflected where would you put a desk if you were working from home. We also made the furniture more flexible because the pandemic taught us that, having built-ins, while sometimes efficient in storage and in space, may not be ideal if a situation like a pandemic happens. So there was a trend towards loose furniture. And of course, the materials themselves had to be easy to maintain, easy to clean, easy to sanitize. So these were trends in interior design itself, no? And the other trend that I touched on earlier was the mental health during the pandemic. Now, we saw it in the office that, of course, it gets down. You're working from the office. You're working and living in the same space, seeing the same people, no place to blow off steam. You can't see your best friends. You can't go out in the movies. All the stuff this all weighs down to your mental health. So we also recognize that interiors and architecture, or the built environment, shall we say, is very important. And that is the trend that we saw. And because of that, we actually found AP. It's almost like LEED, if you're familiar, like the Green Building Council. But this, if the green architecture interiors are for sustainability, AP is for overall wellness. So we discovered that, and one of our senior designers then just got certified. So I think she's one of the first interior designers to be a well-certified professional here in the Philippines. So through that, a member of our design team, Dan, who's a senior design manager, we're looking forward to incorporating that into our practice. So, and we also realized that while we were connected digitally, like we are now having our Zoom, the connections of people are so important, whether it be at work or at home. So we found alternative ways for our community within DesignHQ to interact. We had game night. We also had professional trainings. Now, all these venues that were virtual, but geared towards keeping the connection and relationships among designers.
So, like, with the changes of the environment, as mentioned, sir, did this have a positive or negative impact in your interior design business?
My answer would be both. No, I guess the positive let's start with the negative stuff so that it's out of the way. Of course, their business gets affected, but in our case, we're quite lucky because what we work on are a lot of it are hotels, high-rise amenities. We have a significant portfolio that handles long-term projects. So with long-term projects, these are projects that will be built, planned and built over 7 years. So you can imagine the planning still happens even if there's a pandemic, and it's perfect. It's something you can do from home. So it's not, I could imagine that there are some other design firms that may have a portfolio that's heavy on, let's say, residential. Pag lockdown, diba, parang they can't execute it. Plus, I'm sure a lot of the people didn't want to spend muna because they wanted to save their money for something else. So your business is affected, so you just have to ride it out. You have to control the expenses, and then negative nga would be the mental health of the people you're working with. So you address that by having alternative ways to connect and to maintain the relationship, right? And then, of course, because of that, you have more time on your hands because there's less work during the height of the pandemic. And we took advantage of using this to train. We went into training for some of like Den took that certification for Well AP. We had internal training to train each other. We also used the time to document our processes, which we do naman, like because it's always good that the designers have a handbook. Because in a way, interior design is a business, and what is our asset? The asset are our people, the creativity, and the strength of the designers. So when we had more time, because there was less work happening, the best thing to do while we're writing it out is to invest in the designers' knowledge, training, and mental health. So I think that was done. The positive side is that, ironically, we know more about each other during the pandemic. I think Ryan has experienced this on our virtual town hall. So every Monday morning, we have an hour town hall where people update each other on the projects they're working on. And since it was virtual, we decided now we'd have a background theme. Like, let's say last Monday, the theme was, if you were to star in an ad, a commercial, what would it be and why? It could be as inane as, what is your favorite, what is the best deal you bought in Lazada? Or it could be as deep as, what do you dream about in the next 5 years for yourself? And this has been happening every Monday. We learned a little bit about each of our designers through that background theme. And ironically, we know more about each other now than we did when we were doing face-to-face.
So that was actually a great realization about the positive and negative impact of the business. So, in your opinion, what would interior design firms would do to stay afloat in times of change, especially during the pandemic? So, this refers to possible business strategies, or what can you suggest?
Yeah, well, because for the pandemic, as I mentioned, we were quite lucky because our portfolio of projects were diverse. That's something interior design firms should consider, the diversity of your portfolio of projects. So, for example, the interior design market is quite segmented, no? So there's residential. Within residential, there's houses built from scratch, and then you have condominiums, you have renovations, right? And then in the commercial, that's even bigger. You have restaurants, you have hotels, and then you also have developers for high-rise amenities. I mean, there's, in effect, how wide is the portfolio that your design firm caters to? And let's say within one, like for example, us, we focus on developer projects. So we have hotels as well as high-rise amenities like condos. Within them, like for example, in high-rise amenities, you have different. Is your portfolio just with one client? Because like, for example, at the start, we only had one client, Ayala Land, but now it's diversified into Philinvest, Robinson's Land. We also have Anchor Land, our hotels that we've done Robinson's Hotels, and ano. So, I hope you're getting the picture here. Na parang, does your business depend only on one segment or more? And within that segment, are you just relying on one client, or are you relying on several? Because the risk is, if you're too focused on a segment and something happens, like the pandemic, in the market segmentation, patay ka agad ang restaurants. Kasi sarado lahat. Patay na rin ang retail. They're not gonna expand. Diba? Jollibee, the most popular, closed how many stores? Diba? So I can imagine that other firms who focused on this had to scale down. In fact, during the pandemic, when we were hiring, we learned of a lot of designers who came from firms that specialized in restaurants, or because they were in the restaurant group, and then almost 2 years no business for restaurants. So number one is portfolio. If you want to stay afloat, it helps to diversify your portfolio so that you're not dependent on one stream of income for your business. And I guess the other one, with what I've been saying before, it's always, there's still business during the pandemic. We're proud to say that even during the pandemic, while more clients were still giving us projects, and we didn't have any, we were getting a few new ones. So there still is business during a crisis. And I attribute that to the training, or our best asset, the people we give. We'd like to think that we give the client very high quality of design and a high quality of service, with the emphasis we have on training and valuing our asset and developing them. So this allows for business still to come in despite difficult times. So I guess those are the two things that you can do to mitigate the effect of a crisis, or in this case, our pandemic.
Yeah, so that was a very detailed and informative advices that you could give to us for staying afloat in times of changes in the industry. So for our final question, what are your design tips or advices for young and incoming interior design firms?
Okay, so for the new designers out there and the new design firms, I think number one is invest in yourself, no? Because as I said, in a way, interior design is a business, and what is the product you're selling? Yourself. And in order to differentiate, and in order to be the preferred interior designer, you have to develop yourself. Now, how do you do this? Of course, well, I'll rattle down. So one is, I think that you should shop and travel. No, a lot of us are just too used designing spaces by picking Pinterest boards, fusing them together, obsessing on SketchUp, and rendering it beautifully. And that's good. That's a very strong and classic way of designing. But what's more interesting is how are you going to execute that when it comes to real life, diba? And how do you make yourself different? Because let's face it, everybody uses the internet to gather ideas. So by going actual shopping, well, of course there's online, but actual shopping, you might discover things that inspire you, diba? And by traveling, you'll also see how interiors are approached by different cultures, different localities, something outside your comfort zone, and something that you're not used to doing. So travel and shopping will expand and refine your taste. Of course, investing in yourself would be training. So training can be that you join a firm, join an experienced, work with other interior designers who are more experienced, have a different point of view. Through collaboration and through working with them, you'll realize so many things. Investing in yourself also could be about investing in other skills that are not required by the school. So for example, webinars that you see out there or certificate courses will give you some edge over the others. Also part of investing in yourself, because as an interior designer and as in a design firm, it's all about your portfolio, right? It's all about the work that you did. So a lot of us put the work in, create beautiful portfolios, and then they just decide they don't do a thorough job of capturing. No? So in the age of Instagram, you know that a single picture will generate so much interest, and you know the difference between a good picture and a masterpiece. And that same effort can be magnified when you create your portfolio. So creating, hiring professional photographers, putting effort into styling, choosing the right lighting, documenting your the portfolio that you show your clients. That will really change a lot. And then lastly would be listening. No, as designers, I feel that we have so much to express. We have so much creativity to showcase the clients, but sometimes we forget that it's not all about us and our design. It's about us translating and listening to the clients well. So listening to the client's brief very, very closely, no? And really reflecting that in your design will always count a lot when it comes to clients appreciating your work and them referring other people or giving you more projects. So I guess my tips for that would be those three.
Yeah, traveling is also really, really essential if you're a designer, to explore more, to expand your mind, and also to expand your way of, like, culture is also very, very helpful when it comes to designing.
So yeah, thank you so much, sir, for spending your time. That was probably the last question. So thank you for spending your time with us, and for the stories and the tips that you also shared for us, especially young designers and possibly future entrepreneurs as well. So you're a great inspiration for us.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank you too, Ryan and Janine, for inviting me. A special shout out also to your school. Chaco and I are so impressed by the curriculum. A shout out to your teachers. We're continually impressed by the graduates of USC, the professionalism, the creativity they bring, and with the work ethic that they have. So thank you for having me too. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to meet more of you in the future.
So yes, thank you so much. And so if you want more information about DesignHQ, you can just visit their website, DesignHQ.net. Their Facebook account, DesignHQ, Design Hirayama and Quesada. Also their Instagram account, design.hq. Again, Sir Frenjick, thank you so much for giving us your time. So thank you so much, sir. This has been Janine Marifel Ganpain.
And Ryan Japhet, Gablines.
And thank you, God bless, and take care. Stay safe, everyone.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, sir.